the last day of his life, Solomon San Michel woke abruptly from the soundest of sleeps at precisely 5 o'clock a.m. It was very unusual that Solomon would wake up so early. However, he did not give much thought to this peculiarity, and he went about his very usual day in the most unpeculiar way. It was a Wednesday. He would breathe 10,433 times, blink 7,812 times. He would take 2,000 steps in his favorite sneakers that never stayed tied. He would say, "What's up?" to 22 and a half people. At exactly 11:11, Solomon took out his phone to check the time. The serendipity made him smile. At exactly 8:08, Solomon spilled his mug of coffee, and the misfortune made him frown. Early in the afternoon, Solomon broke wind while he was standing next to a man at a urinal. He was extremely embarrassed, but tried to act as if nothing had happened. During his day, Solomon ate the most delicious apple. He watched the most beautiful bird take flight. And he saw the most ridiculous fight between two perfect strangers. At one point in the day, Solomon longed for more money so that he could buy that red motorcycle that he had so desired. Later in the day, Solomon broke a pencil. He played the ukulele, and he gave 3 very different hugs. At one point in the day, Solomon stopped and began worrying about his place in the world and what he was going to do with himself when it came time to find a real job. Before lunch, Solomon sat in class where his favorite professor lectured on malnutrition amongst children in the Latin American barriadas. He became sad, thinking about all those in the world less fortunate than he. He thought about the evils of capitalism, and how nice it would be if everybody could just share. He wondered why it was that communism never seemed to work. Solomon knew what he had to do. He thought of all the ways that he could dedicate himself to getting rid of need and want, and all the things that he could do to help make the world a better place. 5 minutes later, when he was walking out of class, he thought about sex.
Hello?
Solomon even managed to find time to talk on the phone with his mother for 10 whole minutes. They talked about the first annual Wilmington bowling tournament, about Bibi, Solomon's alcoholic grandmother, and they talked of Sir Gideon, the family dog, and his suspiciously loose stools. At the end of the conversation, as always, Solomon stopped and said, "I love you." Sometime shortly after stopping to tie his shoes, Solomon San Michel would blink no more blinks, spill no more coffees, eat no more oranges. There would be no more daydreaming about fornication or philanthropy. There would be no more hand hugs or broken pencils. There would be no more I love yous. Sometime shortly after Solomon San Michel stopped to tie his shoes, he would be dead. Leslie drove a large SUV and lived in a newly refurbished apartment downtown. He always knew exactly what to wear and where exactly to be. He was young and fit and had a job that made those around him more jealous than it did proud. He believed in redemption, hope, and love, but he had seen far too little of all 3. He was in a rush to get back to the apartment as he fumbled with his cell phone, fumbling through the numbers, thinking about the one that he did not have. It was the number of the woman he had met outside the office. Her name was Josephine. He had stopped to help her with her bags, and she was beautiful. He was entranced by her hair that kissed at her neck, the way her hands toyed with her scarf, the way her legs seemed to dance with one another. Josephine was caught off guard by how attracted she was to this man that she had just met. She wanted nothing more than to see him again, to give him her number, and to arrange a sort of rendezvous. He looked at her and thought about how much he liked her. But just then, he felt an overwhelming sense of guilt, and he thought about Scott back in the apartment and how much he loved him. So Leslie smiled, said goodbye, and walked back to his SUV. He wanted to get back to the apartment as soon as possible. He needed to make up for the argument that took place that morning. He tried to call ahead and see if Scott wanted to grab dinner at the cafe on the canal. There was no answer. Leslie felt lost, conflicted, and couldn't see where things were going. He thought about all that he had left behind, the missed chances, the lost opportunities. He thought about Josephine, and he thought about Scott. He thought about all the uncertainties of the future, and vexed over all the things that he couldn't see that lay ahead.